Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is
Bannister Chaava.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. Like I just told you before we started recording, but I'll also tell the audience is I'm glad I got you in because of Jarvix. And I mean, he's just a great guy. And because of him, I was listening to your music and was like, oh my gosh, this dude, just crazy, awesome stuff. So yeah, give the audience an introduction. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Bannister, and I am I'm a musician. I write music, and I enjoy writing music. And that's pretty much that's my main thing. I guess.
Yeah. Is there a genre? Starting early with the genre question.
Genre? I'd say somewhere in rock, somewhere between rock and jazz is where I sit.
Yeah. I feel like at this point, most musicians are like, I don't really know what my genre is, but then we have to like sell the thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Or just give people an idea of like what to expect before they listen to it.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that, so I should probably work on that. But yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like we just make what we want to make.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't really matter what necessarily that is. I don't know. So yeah, let's start with just music. How did you get started in music?
How did I get started in music? I started messing around with a program called Magix Music Maker in, I think that was either high school or it was high school. I just started messing around with the VSTIs on there, and I really liked doing that. And around the same time, my friend group was playing Rock Band, which transitioned into playing instruments.
Real instruments, yeah.
Yeah, that was so that's kind of how I started out, and then from there it was just sort of right now it feels inevitable, like it just feels like it just kind of all rolled one thing after the other. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not pretty much it, because it's like then it keeps going into like what this like you said, rock jazz thing. I guess, what are your biggest influences?
I say early on in my life, it was the Foo Fighters. I really love the Foo Fighters, but I was also watching a lot of anime. So there was just in anime, there's like a broad range of music. There's a surprising amount of jazz,
Yes,
especially in stuff like Cowboy Bebop, and stuff in that era was just really eclectic, and lots of different stuff entered my brain. So I'd say that's kind of where my influences come from. So it's really pretty eclectic. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Top 5 anime, not in order, but just like,
top 5 anime. I'm just older, and I'm more cynical now. So I like stick to older stuff. So my favorite thing is probably the best. The thing I think is the best is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I think that's probably the best anime in terms of quality, just across the board. That's
peak storytelling.
Yes,
and like world
it's fantastic.
building. Yeah.
And then I'd say movies. I'd say Grave of the Fireflies is probably my favorite, just as a piece of history that really interests me.
Yeah.
So.
You just love stabbing yourself in the heart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that one that you like put on often, or do you just
No.
just watch it every now and again just to remind yourself, and you're like, yep, this is great art, and then you just leave it alone for a while?
That's what I think about often. Just because I'm not a music major, I'm actually an English major, so I do a lot of writing and a lot of reading history stuff. So that's just something that just enters my brain a lot. So yeah, I do not watch Grave of the Fireflies regularly. It would be painful.
Yeah. And then any other like notable mentions?
Notable mentions. Dang, there's so much. I don't want to say Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball Z is in there. I'd say the early episodes. I first encountered it actually in boarding school when I was in Zambia. That was way, way back, way longer than I'd like to remember. But yeah, that's Dragon Ball Z is up there. Bleach.
Yeah. So yeah, I need, this is another one that I need to like be more consistent about, since I normally interview people like in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. It generally turns out that most people grew up in Oklahoma City, and so I don't really ask that question. But also, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a few different places. I was born in South Africa, but I've lived in South Africa, Zambia, and now the United States. So I came here when I was, I think, a little bit less than a teenager. I don't remember exactly where it was, but Africa and America is where the two places. Where I've been.
I also came here at a fairly young age. I came here at the age of 6. So like, you'd probably remember Africa a lot better than I remember Venezuela, at least.
America. There's so much America. America's so busy that I really, aside from every now and then, I just have like a strong memory like come back to me. I don't really remember it probably as well as I should. But yeah, my memory's not. I couldn't like run it back as well as I can from Virginia, where that's where I really grew up, was in Virginia.
And how'd you get to Oklahoma?
It was job stuff. Parents got work here, so we moved here.
Yeah, no one ever really like willingly.
Especially Lawton. Absolutely no one willingly goes there. Yeah.
So then, yeah, like more than into like your musical developments into like who you are now. Where did you develop from? Old school DAWs, and then just like making stuff in your room.
That was all in Virginia. In my later years of high school, I was in a band with, it was like a revolving door of, there are three mainstays and then a kind of revolving fourth member. And during that time, my friend had a studio. Well, his dad had a studio. It was I think it's still there, but I mean, I'm speaking past tense. It was just a tiny little studio. It was a little drum set. There were some old amps in there, some electric guitars, and I just started messing around with that stuff. And eventually, we got Reaper on the desktop, which that desktop is at least at this point. At least maybe 20 years old. I don't know, but it's extremely old and was barely running. But I messed around with Reaper on there, and I just really enjoyed it, and just kept. I've not stopped.
Do you still use Reaper, or have you? Oh yeah,
yeah. I stayed with Magix. Magix is like a really cheap. I think it's German. It's a cheap program that was really easy to use, but I wanted to just get better at stuff, and Reaper was a affordable way to do that. Yeah. Have
you actually paid for Reaper? Does anyone actually pay for Reaper?
I have paid for Reaper. It's so cheap. It's $60 for the. I'm not going to be selling a million copies, so it's $60 for me. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
just because you could just click that little window away every time.
Yep.
Well, good to know that someone has paid for Reaper. Yeah. So then I guess I hear a lot of like jazz stuff in your music. I hear like all the harmonies are really awesome. I also hear a lot of like Ben Folds, is that in there?
Ben Folds, I don't think I've ever listened to. I might have heard a song, but I can't think. I don't remember the name.
Maybe that's my own bias of like I've listened to a lot of Ben Folds.
I mean, I've listened to so much music. You listen to so much music over your life. It's hard to remember exactly what came in. So maybe I have.
I don't know. I always kind of ask like, oh, when did you realize that like music was the thing that you wanted to do? But it's like, is it even really like the thing? Like you're studying English, but also are you still just, do you think you're going to be doing music forever?
I'm definitely going to be doing music forever in one way or another. I guess it's been so long since I made the decision to be an English major instead of a music major that I don't remember exactly my logic, but I think it was sort of like I really enjoy music and I don't enjoy studying things, and I don't want music to become a thing that I study. I just want to do it. But that's I don't know how much sense that makes now.
It does make a lot of sense. I feel like, I mean, as someone who has studied music, sometimes it does feel like a lot of like quote unquote magic is gone, but at the same time, like the wonder is still there. But I feel like you can definitely harness a lot more wonder if you like never had anyone tell you like what is right or what is wrong.
Yeah. I definitely hear that. But jazz is the thing that I know I'm never going to be like a real jazz person. I just want to borrow the language of jazz. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to like fluently, speak jazz. That's something else.
I think like you probably have that in common with like other people that actually like are considered jazz as well. As like Herbie Hancock is probably like, oh, I don't know if I'm even like really like a jazz guy. But yeah, I guess how does that make its way into your music? How did you sort of get into jazz? And like, because I feel like that's a layer of music that not everyone gets into,
I've been very lucky to be surrounded by musicians who are much better than me for a very long time, and the most impressive stuff has always been the jazz. Whenever I see somebody, I have a friend, Jimmy, and there's a guitarist named David Ellis who he was in Oklahoma, but I think he's in LA now. When I hear them play, it's so incredible. Jazz has just always had that effect on me. I think more than any other, version or genre of music, jazz just combines all the things I love of, my favorite composers like Ravel. All of it is all in there, and the rock makes its way in there. The rock comes from it, but the rock is in there too, and it's just everything's all in one place, and I love that about jazz. That's kind of why it just connects with me.
Yeah, that's actually a good comparison, or like highlighting all of the different sort of spheres that like, and I talk about this all the time, how like classical world and like contemporary pop world or whatever, rock, and then jazz is sort of the thing that's in between that kind of connects the two, So then what was your first like official release?
My first official release. How official?
I mean, I guess like nowadays it would be like, what's first thing on Spotify,
First thing on Spotify is definitely Melodramatica. But I think the first of my quote unquote serious work was 12-tone Starlight, which is the one where I just kind of decided, okay, I'm going to do music, and it's something I want to do. It's not great. The production's not great, but I love the music.
Yeah.
But
That's a good thing to have, though, that like you're at least able to go back to it and like the music.
Yeah. That's the one thing that has not changed for me for the most part. Is I like my music generally.
Mm-hmm. And then the times where you like, you work on it for hours.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you look back and you're like, what was I doing?
Yeah, that for me, that mostly happens with. I mostly get just confused. Like, how did I think this was a good mix? Like, just production is my weakness. That is the thing I do the least well. It's a struggle for me.
But at the same time, like I hear a lot of that in your music. Like, I don't think you'd be able to like make those sounds if you didn't have a computer,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so reliant on my computer. I wish I could do more analog stuff, but
stuff costs money.
Yeah. It's way too expensive, and I don't know if I would. I don't know if I really would. I want to, but I don't know if I really would. Go analog all the way.
Well, one thing that I thought as I was listening to your most recent album was like, someone needs to just give him all of the money to just have these like MIDI instruments be recorded for real and just like have like an orchestra play this stuff.
That is my dream.
It can be fully realized.
That is my dream. Yes.
So I guess this is something that I go through a lot. Like, how do you decide if it even is like a decision? Like, what things go into a thing?
I guess I hit a point where if I don't get it out, it's never going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the same approach with sounds. Like, if I might not think it's like a perfect sound, but if it works, I'll just keep it in and just suck it up. I don't have that infinite budget. I got to do what I got to do, and I got to put the music out. And
sure.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean more specifically, like, which instruments? Like, what makes you go like, oh, this needs to be woodwinds here?
I don't have a system for that. I just try it out and just go through the row of different sounds sometimes. Especially with snares. Snares, I think I spend way too much time. More than any other instrument is the snare picking is the thing for me.
Beats 2 and 4 really need a good sound. It's okay to focus a lot on a snare. There's a joke in like audio engineer meme groups that I'm in that's just like, fucking snare sounds like garbage.
It's never gonna sound good.
Yeah,
it's never gonna sound good.
So I guess, what is a nitty gritty or advanced concept, or just something that like you're super into your music that like probably no one's ever gonna hear, but you just like really like hone in on that thing? You're like, I'm so happy that I got that in there, or that it sounds this way, or whatever it is.
Let me see. I spend a lot of time. It's not technically music, but I spend a lot of time on lyrics and connecting in the order of the songs. I spend a lot of time picking the songs and making sure that it like telling the story that I want to tell, that I don't think anyone's ever gonna really care about what exactly, how all the songs connect, how all the lyrics maybe reference each other, how I reference different albums in different songs. That's my thing. Just, I guess that's my English major coming out. Just,
sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a whole work of art that is, yeah. I mean, if you go with like Wagner getting rid of his, anti-Semitism, but like the total work thing of, well, for the astute listener, there are things there to follow. Hey, check out his music.
Yeah.
and find those threads that go all the way through. I feel like the modern age of music and releasing music and the fact that we're able to just like throw everything out makes it to where I feel like we're in a singles world now. Do you feel like the album is dead, or are you just going to forever just keep putting albums out because it's, I guess, who you are? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be just making albums. But there's also just sometimes you just want to just put a song out, and I really just think of it in that way. Like usually over the course of a few months or a year, I'll be thinking about a theme. Whenever a song can fit into that theme, that'll go on the album. But other stuff will just get released. So kind of a best of both worlds. Yeah. But I don't like that it's mostly a singles world now, but it is what it is, It's nothing really can be done.
But I guess more so, like, do you still feel the like selling the thing is sort of the the crux of the problem,
Yeah, I hate selling things. I'm bad at selling things. I don't enjoy selling things. I don't enjoy talking about things as products. That's just like a personal thing that I should really get over at least to some point. Doesn't have to affect the art, but it's just a real thing. We live in a world where money is the way things are done. So there's a certain degree of sucking it up that needs to be done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's because I have that struggle all the time as well. I don't like marketing. I don't like selling myself. So I guess, how do you get through that hump to actually just like putting it out, or is it just always art as you put it out?
So far it's been just, I just put it out and hope for the best. Just here it is. It's art. I hope you like it. And if you like it, I hope you buy it. But in the future, I'm thinking more about finding somebody who is interested in thinking in those terms and partnering with somebody else so they can help me to, so that I don't have to do that, because I don't want to think about things in those terms.
Yeah. What is, I guess, a message that you want people to get from your music? Doesn't necessarily have to be the message, but just a message.
A message. I really don't know. The past, I guess just love things, be a caring person, but the past, I say my past two albums have been pretty kind of autobiographical and sort of, it has a kind of negative connotation, but self-centered. Just I've been mostly writing about myself, so I don't think those don't necessarily have a message. But before that, my thing before, when I first started writing music, was just love songs. I like to make people happy. I like to make people laugh. And yeah, just live, laugh, love, that old chicken noodle soup for the soul kind of thing.
As ridiculous of a meme that has become, it's actual life advice. Do those things. Getting into more kind of broadly philosophical ideas of music, is there such a thing as bad music?
Is there such a thing as bad music? I think if you, I think the only person who can tell that is the person who's making the music. If you make something and it's not what you want it to be, and you know it's not what you want it to be, and you put it out, I think then you've made bad music. But that's not going to be, I think objectively, I don't think there's such a thing as bad music. I think there's, if your music causes physical pain, like if your mix is super loud and it's just a sustained screech that actually damages people's ears, I think then we can say it's objectively bad, because it's doing actual harm to people. But I think that's the one case.
Let me introduce you to some harsh noise, my friend. It is just that. Is there such a thing as selling out?
Again, I think it's only the artist will be able to ever know that. If you're writing, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, if you don't care about what you're doing, people can feel that. And I don't know if selling out might be a strong word for it, but I think that is a kind of a form of selling out a little bit.
Yeah. Why music? Why not, I don't know, visual art or something? I don't know.
Music is just what I've gotten good at, and I kind of pigeonholed myself, and I'm kind of stuck there now. Can't really move now.
Sure. But I guess, what is it about music that keeps pigeonholing you, I guess?
It's the experience of music for me. My favorite place on earth to be is on a stage. Even if it's like two people in the crowd. I've played for, 1 person, 0 person crowds. The feeling of playing music is, it's unique. It's just wonderful for me, and it's where I feel at home. That's just why I've stuck with music. Nothing else has ever given me that feeling that music gives me.
Yeah. What's something people don't normally know about you?
Something people don't normally know about me. I don't think I have many secrets. I guess maybe you might not know that I love Hideo Kojima. I love all his work. I love everything he's ever done. And I think he can do almost no wrong. He's still alive, so maybe he can do something horrible in his remaining time. But I love Hideo Kojima. Yeah.
So you enjoyed all of Death Stranding?
Yes, I enjoyed all of Death Stranding. I got it the day of. I had a party. It was a party by myself. I bought some bratwurst, and I got some Monster, and I sat on the couch for 24 hours and just played Death Stranding. It was wonderful.
Yeah. I was gonna ask something about Death Stranding, but that it's ineffable. So
yeah, it's a Kojima production.
Really, just into this tangent. I'm sorry, but how do you feel about Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance? Not Hideo Kojima.
Metal Gear Rising. That's the one I think that's one I haven't played. It looks like it's fun. Yeah, I'm glad people enjoy it. I don't have strong feelings either way. Get some great memes out of it.
Oh yeah,
but, yeah.
Nano machines.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Metal Gear?
Favorite Metal Gear? It's Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. It's a spicy pick.
It is a spicy pick.
I think it's the least liked generally, but it's the one I played first. And from there, I had no idea what was going on, so obviously I had to go back and play the other games. So that's what started it.
Did you go all the way back to like Metal Gear?
I have not played Metal Gear. No, I've not played Metal Gear, but I think I haven't beaten everything, but I played everything after Metal Gear. Well, after Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. For me, it's Metal Gear Solid 2.
2? Oh, yeah.
It was the one that I've played the most, probably. Is similar to you. It's like the first one I played, and I just like kept coming back to it. So
yeah, that's a good one. That's one that's kind of gotten more popular, especially today when we're all thinking, whatever Kojima was thinking about all those years ago.
It's still relevant.
Yeah.
Thank you for going to that Kojima tangent with me. What advice do you have for people that are wanting to make music like what you're doing?
Be smart. Balance is good. I don't like the have a backup plan, but if you are going to do music, have a plan. Have a way that it's going to work out. I think most people who do music, they're not famous. They just do music as, they've made music their job. There's plenty professional avenues. So I'd say just have a plan. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Have a plan.
Switching gears to the questions that make bit depth.
Okay.
What is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
Role of spirituality. Oh, well, I play music at my church. I lead people in worship. And that's kind of the role that is kind of where they intersect, I guess. But yeah, it's you caught me at a time when I am sort of taking stock of everything, and reevaluating just about everything I value. So spirituality is I think less in those terms than I have before, I think.
What has been your, I guess, growth, your adolescence through spirituality or religion? What did you grow up with at all?
I grew up I've grown up in a very Christian home. And that's just been the air. So I've grown up in the church, Wesleyan, which is Salvation Army, which is Salvationist. It's just a Wesleyan church, and yeah, I've grown up in that all my life, and I've attended camps. I've played music, and I've continued to play music, play trombone and stuff for the Salvation Army. That's cool. Where I've grown up. Yeah.
So then, what is your definition of God?
My definition of God. I'll say the God that I have, I've known in my church life is just like an omnipotent, kind, wrathful, merciful, just a confusing sort of figure, I think. But ultimately, I don't know. It's all wrapped up in that word God. This semester has been, we've been talking about semantics and semiology, and we've been breaking words down, and that word God is like so loaded with different meanings. It's like authority, and at the same time freedom, and it's my definition of God would be just a strong contradiction. But yeah.
Cool. That's the first time I've heard that one. That's cool. What is free will?
Free will. So yeah, it's our ability to do whatever do whatever we want. We just we are free to be whatever we want to be, to do whatever we want to do. I think
because I mean, I guess the question, of course, becomes:
do we have it?
Yeah, do we have free will?
I think to a certain degree that question is so it really doesn't matter whether or not we have it. Because we do have it. We functionally have free will, at least, as much as we'll ever understand. We obviously have free will because we make choices. Even if there is some determinist like master plan, we're not going to know that. We're always going to be making choices. So I think we do have free will.
Yeah, effectively.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think happens when we die?
What do I think? Yeah. I used to think very clearly in those terms of heaven and hell. But I just don't know. I have no idea. I have no clue what happens.
That is one of my favorite answers. How do you determine what good behavior is?
It's very subjective, I guess. Whether you're, the effects of your actions, the effects of words, I think that is what, determines whether it's good or bad. And it's always going to be somewhat subjective. Although, I think of Orwell when he talks about physical pain. Nobody wants to be in physical pain, except maybe like sadists. But that's I think that's a different kind of pain.
Controlled physical pain.
Yeah, but nobody wants to be in pain and unable to stop the pain from happening. So I think bad behavior would be causing people pain. Good behavior would be reducing that pain. And maybe middle behavior would be just not doing either one. So I don't know. But yeah, I think it's pretty subjective. But again, it's like
That's
an effective. Yeah, effectively, there's just if the effect is good, then that's good behavior, I think.
Yeah. How do we reduce the division between people?
Oof. My favorite is Evangelion, when everybody turns into orange juice. I think that would instantly break down the divisions. But otherwise, I think understanding, seeing things from other people's perspective. Education is a great way to heal the divisions. But again, in education, there's, what's your motive for being educated? If you're educating yourself so that you can be a better divider, then you're going to be a better divider. But it's, I think, some form of education, learning about other people's perspective, especially, is a great way to heal and reduce some divisions, I think.
Yeah. Another anime tangent. Did you watch the rebuilds?
I watched the most recent one, and I need to watch it again because my brain was not like 100% there. But I really enjoyed 1.11 and 2.22, I think, and 3.0 as the best soundtrack. At least I think. I've listened to that soundtrack a lot. It's wonderful, but I have not watched it as much. So the last two are the kind of the ones that are, I don't know.
Yeah. By the way, they're all on Amazon Prime. So if you want to catch up on them, my wife and I have been like slowly getting through that, and then we like forget for a while, and then like, oh crap, we should. That's another thing that
there's so much going on in those, because you have to think about it as like, it's not it's like related. It's a relationship between the old Evangelion and the new Evangelion, and then there's new stuff going on in the new, and it's a wonderful mess.
It's sort of like watching original Full Metal.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't have to have watched the original to watch Brotherhood. You'll get more out of it, but you also won't get much out of watching
have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
It's great. But man, I added just the relationship between these things is like
that movie's just a complete destruction of like what the world and the intent and the
The animation's great though. The animation's wonderful.
All of that from, human instrumentality. Do you believe humans are evil by nature?
No. No. I don't think human beings are evil by nature. Just no. No.
Where do you think that comes from? And I guess, why do people latch on to that belief?
I'll latch on to the belief that people are evil by nature.
Evil, yeah.
Because they want to do evil things to them. It's much easier to be a horrible person to people who you think are horrible, who are less than you, who are naturally evil. You can just justify doing awful things to them. That's why I think people would think naturally. We see this in like xenophobia and racism. It's just another manifestation of this desire to be mean and just awful to people. It's putting it in light terms, but yeah, it's just I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah. What do you think humanity is heading towards in the future?
Whew, those are big questions. What do I think we're headed towards? Humanity in general, I have no idea. But I guess on a smaller scale, our country is just headed towards a lot of confusion and a lot of pain. Just because there's so much unresolved stuff in this country that I've chosen to be a part of. It's so much awful stuff has happened in the history of America. So much awful stuff continues to happen, and it seems like we're not stopping. And it's the bill comes due. Just something not good, or we can address it. And I think I would like to see these things addressed. So it's one of those two. That's what I think.
How would they be addressed?
How'd they be addressed?
Notable use of the passive voice.
I think there's just some, politically there's some measures that could be done to, whether it's economically, just restore some sense of dignity to a lot of people, give them, the ability to live, live lives of dignity. And I think there are quite a few different things that can be done. And then in general, there's, again, education. Education goes so far to, my education has really ended up frustrating me because I just learn so much. There's more awful stuff than I will ever know, and there's just so much to fix that I'm not gonna be able to fix in my lifetime, but I can fix some of it. So I think there's just some practical, again, economic things that can be done.
This is not a question in my list, but I thought of it just now. I guess, how do you balance that out? I think it used to be a question that I asked, like, how do you deal with the barrage of negative that comes out of the world?
Sometimes I just ignore it. Sometimes I just bury my head in music, bury my head in anime. Just forget that it's try to forget that it's happening. And other times it's just looking straight at it and trying to figure out. Okay, there's a lot of awful stuff happening. What small good thing can I do? What can I do to affect within my community or online, within my community, online or in Lawton? How can I just tangibly change somebody's life for the better? I try to think of it in those terms and try to chip away at the big thing, but at other times I just despair. It's just I write a whole album about how I'm sad and how I don't want to think about this stuff. But yeah, it's one of those three.
Yeah, we're musicians. We're sad about that. What are you optimistic about for our future?
Elden Ring's coming out. That's going to be sick. I know that's going to be good. It looks like Dark Souls. There's going to be some great entertainment. And people are still making beautiful things. And there's still wonderful people out there who are out there. So that's what I look for. I look forward to. I'm optimistic about good people who are going to be good. It's kind of difficult to find a larger thing to be hopeful about because it looks like it's all going downhill. But yeah, there's always good people out there. So
yeah. What makes you content?
Lately, nothing. I just constantly feel discontent. But it's spending time with my friends. I haven't done that in a while. All my friends are in Virginia, but just going out to Virginia, spending time with them, being close to the people I've grown up with, that makes me feel kind of at peace, content, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. When will you be satisfied?
I will be satisfied as a person, as a musician, when I can play music for my life, and just I can have a nice balance between I go play some music, I get a good night's sleep, I eat, I spend time with my friends, and then by choice I go back and I play music again, and that's my life. That would be satisfaction for me. That's all I want.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people in general?
Advice for people in general. Read, listen to people, especially people who don't look like you. I think that's a big thing. From my personal experience, I've just learned a lot by taking other perspectives more seriously. I think that's a big thing that is surprisingly not as easy as it sounds, but that would be my advice for people in general, is just listen and read. Yeah.
Yeah. Lastly, and potentially most importantly, cake or pie?
I'd like to say I'm a cake person, but pie just has a versatility to it that really cake can't be, you can't put meat in a cake. You can put meat in a pie, but you can't put it in a cake. So I'm gonna have to go with pie, just all around.
Corollary: what is best pie?
Best pie? I think eventually I'll have a chicken pot pie that blows my mind, but I haven't had it yet. So right now, shepherd's pie is my favorite. It's technically
savory pies.
Yeah. I'm not a maybe pumpkin pie is it's close somewhere in there, but I'm not a super big fan of sweets as much as I was as a kid. But yeah, shepherd's pies. It's got to be it.
And then some other just like random things. What is the best boba place in Oklahoma City?
Best boba place? I haven't been to as many as I'd like to go to. I think I think I left it at home. I have a card with the stamps
right.
for it. I don't know. I'd like to know. I would really like to know. I'm a basic bitch. I will enjoy any boba that arrives in front of me. I just love boba. I don't know.
Yeah. Good places in Lawton at all?
No. Well, there's a family Korean restaurant that I haven't been to yet, so that might be good. But the other one, there's one at like the mall, which is one of the two places in Lawton where you can go to experience something other than your house. But it's not great. I literally watched him pour creamer that I can buy at the mall. So I actually at the grocery store. So I actually tried to make my own boba with Thai tea. Didn't turn out great. I'm not a chef. It's not my gift. It's not my skill, and I do not enjoy it. I want to eat. I don't want to cook.
Well, what Lawton seems to lack in food places, it at least has some beautiful nature nearby. So that's the nature reserve is really nice.
Yeah, Mount Scott's nice. I'm just not I don't know. I'm a boring person. I'm not a fan of. This sounds evil. I'm not a fan of nature. Maybe the worst sentence I've ever said in my life. But I just don't like. I don't like hikes. I don't like walking up mountains. I do like looking at them though. So Lawton does have that. You're right.
You can drive to the top of Mount Scott.
Yes.
And that's a really nice thing as far as nature in that nature reserve. Bannister, thank you so much for doing this with me. Where can we find you and your things?
You can find me and my things on Spotify, Apple Music. I think Deezer is another one. I don't know if anyone uses Deezer, but Spotify, Apple Music, and my Bandcamp, which is just my name, bannisterchaava.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, which you should definitely buy the things. What is your most recent album? Rep that stuff.
Oh, my most recent album is Knowing, Understanding, and Other Myths. It is a mostly sort of rock album. Yeah, that's my most recent. Then before that was Autosophy, which is a little bit more rock than I don't know. It's somewhere in there. Again, going back to the genre thing, but it's.
Yeah, I mean those jazzy harmonies though. It's just like, man. That's actually I just want to ask you about, like, do you like plan out the harmonies, or do you just like add another layer?
I sit in front of my computer and I just add layer after layer, and if it sounds good, I keep it.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Because I tend to be just like, I think too hard about it. That's the problem with like being educated in music, is like, well, it should go like this maybe, but like I need to stop.
Yeah, I'm definitely breaking some rules that I might not break. I remember when I learned about parallel fifths. I've been avoiding them ever since, but now I listen to some stuff and I'm like, oh, the parallel fifths again, but it sounds good.
Yeah, no, parallel fifths is just a rule that they had,
yeah.
But like, it's not like it sounds bad. Parallel fifths always sound good, actually, because they're a perfect interval.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyways, I will end this podcast so we can just continue nerding out about music stuff on the second podcast. So I'm Santiago Ramones.
Bannister Chaava.
And now here's The Forces by Bannister Chaava.
Secure me fast upon the mast. The wild waves get past them. The jagged teeth, can we outlast the forces? The forces. My friends, we drift on brutal tides. The lows, we ride them. These ebbs and flows, we fall inside the forces. The forces. Our hungry hearts will drag us to this yawning dark. The voices, this knowing thing will pull us to the forces. The forces. Fill up your hearts with quiet thoughts. You mustn't feel the forces. You must not feel what we have wrought. The forces, the forces. The spirit of our image tracks. The forces attract. The forces. But for my soul, these are walls. The forces, the forces. The forces flow in every heart. The bases of flow. The forces. Make us dance, see. We start with see. The forces. The forces. The force, the force, the force, the force. This is Feel Good Radio, bringing you the jams, so don't you touch that dial.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music and produce audio. The music you're hearing now is music I made. You can listen to official releases by Santiago Ramones on Spotify, Apple Music, and the other streaming places. Or you can buy it on Bandcamp because a single purchase is the monetary equivalent of streaming it all day, every day, for about a week. I'm working on an album, so if you'd like to hear that at some point, you can buy my music, or you can support me on Patreon. There's a Discord server in which we discuss deep topics from the podcast, but it's also a community of beautiful human beings. All the links to all my things are on my website, santiagoramones.com. If you like the podcast, leave comments on social media, leave reviews saying how much you like the podcast, and tell your friends about it.
I want to help the world have deeper conversations. So thank you for listening to and supporting Bit Depth.
I was in the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.